welcome back. This is going to be part 3 of the journey. We're going to be starting the bodywork on the cabinet itself, but it's real nice outside again. So what I'm going to do real quick is take that monitor tube and the chassis outside. We're going to scrub it down with some simple green and a cheap dollar paintbrush, the chassis and everything. Get it looking nice and clean, rinse it off with the hose. And then later on, I'm going to be starting the bodywork on the cabinet itself. See how far we get tonight. I'd like to try to get most of it done tonight as far as the bodywork so that it can be ready for primer. So let me get set up outside. I've got some cardboard. I'm going to set that tube on top of some cardboard on top of the concrete. I don't want to use a blanket because it's going to get soaking wet, and then I got a blanket I got to try to dry out. So I'm just going to stick some cardboard between the tube and the concrete. That'll be fine, and we'll wash the chassis and the tube down. This is definitely one of the dirtiest monitors I've done in a while. It's disgusting. Okay, tripod blew over on me twice, but I was able to catch it both times. Thank God. So they're washed. I'll let them dry. I'm actually going to tilt this chassis on the side. Now let's go back in because it's too windy out here. A lot of people say when those flybacks have the white knobs on the adjustments that you should change them, but it looks good and the whole chassis looks extremely clean, so I'm not messing with it. I don't mess with parts if they work well. It's just a waste of money, and who knows, that thing might last another 10 years. We don't know, you never know. So I'm gonna let that dry for a while now. Probably clean that off. I won't use water on that. I'm gonna go do a few other things for a couple hours, come back, we'll take a look at that once it's dried up, and we'll start sanding down the cabinet. So I'll see you guys later on. All right, I'm back a little later than I wanted it to be, but had to do other things. I'm gonna take these leg levelers off and clean them and paint them, because I like these style with the big metal plates. And mine didn't have this. This has a piece of plywood here, so what's nice is I can take those off, still set it back on the ground, and the edges won't drag because that plywood and the back wheels will hold it up. Here's the monitor chassis and tube. Turned out real nice and clean. Looks new, close to new. So very happy with that. It's all cleaned up, ready to go back together. So by the time I put that new painted up cage or frame on here and mount all that back on there, it's gonna look nice. So, all right, I'm gonna sand this first side down here with some 80 grit sandpaper on the DA sander, and then we'll fill in some of these nicks and stuff. Okay, that's the first side sanded down. I ended up switching to the bigger sander because some of these edges were kind of flared up a little bit, and that's what this particle board does. It'll collect a little moisture around the edges and it'll swell the edge up. So by using that bigger sander, I knocked it all back down flat. Now this whole front edge looks perfect. I don't see any chipping or on the top. We got a little chipping on the back, a little bit on the bottom, a little bit on the back corner. So we're going to use regular Bondo for this because it's nothing major. So let's mix up some of that, put that on here, and then wait a little bit, and then we could sand those edges down, and then we'll be able to flip this over and do the exact same thing to the other side. It should go pretty quick. So yeah, well, maybe while this Bondo spots are drying, I'll work on getting these off. I'm probably gonna have to cut the I'm probably gonna have to grind off the screws because they're pretty rusty, but we'll see what happens, and maybe they'll come out because it's particle board. So my work table once again is a mess. I seriously, I clean it like 5 days a week. Just haven't had a chance to clean it today yet. So we're gonna use regular body filler. Oh, I can't reach it. Just regular old auto body filler. This is a lightweight filler. It's from Summit Racing. It's about $40–50 a gallon, I think. We're gonna mix up just a little bit so that we can get those edges. And I think, yeah, while this is drying, we'll work on cutting off those, getting those legs off of there. Then we can hit this with the sander and we'll see if we need a second coat or not. Always try to fold over your filler when you mix it, because then you're not going to get as many air bubbles as you would if you stirred it. All right, let's go hit these areas. You don't need a ton. Make sure you thoroughly mix this so it's all the same color. I usually like to spread it as smooth as I can, but this nick in the back here is a little bit thicker, so I'm going to kind of put it on a little bit heavier. Now when we sand this, we have to sand the edge with the block sander, because you don't want to use the DA because the rotating of the disc actually just rips the filler right back off the cabinet. I think I mixed up a little too much. Looking for any big dents or anything. That's a gouge there. It's got a little orange peel texture still, but it'll be all right. Once I put the 2K urethane automotive primer on this cabinet, it's going to be awesome. All right, let that dry. Let me get some tools and see if we can get these legs off. All right, those came off pretty good. Okay, so in all the years I've done construction, house remodeling, working on buildings, I have never in my life seen a screw like these, which they gotta go in the garbage because we gotta use a bigger screw. But they are like a spiral nail screw. Never seen anything like it. It's the weirdest, bizarrest looking thing I've ever seen. It looks like a nail, but it's got a flathead end on it. I wonder if they hammered these things in there. But yeah, I'm getting rid of these because they're obviously not going to go back in the holes. They're pretty stripped out, and unfortunately that piece of plastic on the back edge of the cabinet that protects that was all screwed up, so I had to pop that off. But I might be able to get another one of those. So now, still a little tacky, but I think we can hit these edges with a block. So let me get a block sander with some 80 grit on it, and we'll knock those edges down soon as I find my block. Here it is. And all these edges, you want to make sure you hit them by hand like this. You can use the DA you can use the DA sander for the tops. If you take that DA sander and you put it on the edge here, that rotation of the DA sander is going to tear the particle board, and you're going to have a bunch of mess. So you don't want to do that. You just want to hand sand the edges down. And to be honest with you, you can even hand sand all over it. Let's see if we can knock some of these bigger pieces down real quick. A little sandpaper here. It's still a little bit wet, so we'll get the big stuff off. Okay, we'll let that dry a couple more minutes, and then we'll use the DA on the flat surfaces. Now, if you guys have ever mixed up fiberglass resin, okay? Let's say you guys mixed up fiberglass resin because this corner was busted out and you wanted to put it back in with the resin. Let's say you wait until the next day and you go like this and it's still sticky, okay? And you're like, what the hell, did I mix it wrong? Why is it still sticky? Here's what you do. To get rid of the stickiness is you take a little bit of lacquer thinner or acetone on a rag and you wipe over it, and it won't be sticky anymore. For whatever reason, even my reinforced fiberglass filler, the short strand fiberglass, will do that sometimes. And I don't know if it is the resins that are just come up to the surface or what it is, but yeah, a little acetone or lacquer thinner, wipe it down with a rag, it'll go away and you'll be good to go. So I'm gonna let this sit another probably 5 minutes, and then we're gonna hit it with the DA sander. Looking good. I don't think we're gonna have to do another coat over here, which means we'll be able to rotate this to the other side, knock out that. I know this front corner is a little bit bad, but not horrible. We might use a little bit of short strand fiberglass in that front corner, but other than that, I mean, then we'll do the front edge here. You know, one thing is, I gotta look at mine in the house. I don't remember if I painted the top of my Journey black or blue, but when I was tilting this down, I noticed that they never peeled all the paper off the top of the cabinet. The marquee was already on, so the paper stayed in place. And this is blue underneath there. So the top of the cabinet is supposed to be blue, and then the back's supposed to be black. Now, I don't know, to be honest with you, if I painted the top of my black or blue. I want to say I painted it black, which is incorrect. I didn't know it was blue. I mean, I could be mistaken and I could have painted it blue. I have to go down and look, because now I'm curious. But anyways, we'll paint this blue, the front blue and both sides blue, and the back will be black. And there's something poking me in my shirt. All right, so I'll give this a couple minutes and we'll get this sanded down. All right, this is the worst case, the worst corner on the whole entire game, and that's as small as it is. We're gonna put a little bit of short strand fiberglass in there, let that dry, sand that down, and then we'll hit all the other areas with a little bit of Bondo. And then we're about 95% done with the bodywork after that. That is how clean this cabinet is. It is not beat up. This being in somebody's basement for 20 some years is probably the best thing that ever could have happened to this cabinet, because it didn't get abused. And that's pretty awesome. So we're going to use a little bit of this short strand fiberglass. And I buy this at Harbor Freight. I think I bought this last one at 20 some bucks a quart. I'm going to be doing a video pretty soon, guys. I'm going to get a table. I'm going to lay out all the products that I use, how I use them, why I use them, where I get them from, and all that. I was going to write it all down and do it that route, but I think if I make a video and explain everything that I use and all that stuff, that hopefully it'll help some people out. You know, and I'll show everything that I use as far as when I use automotive paint versus cabinet paint for houses, you know, all that stuff. I'm gonna have to get something to get this out of here. I gotta go get a paint stick, because you can't get that stuff out of there very easily. So if you look at this stuff up close, see how it's coming apart real slowly like that, and it's staying stringy? That's because there's little strands of fiberglass in the filler, mixed into the filler. And it keeps it stringy like that. And what it does is it makes it a much stronger filler because it has reinforcement. It's kind of like putting fiber in concrete. Same thing. The little fibers in the concrete hold it together better than the rock and stone that's in there. So I'm gonna put this on, let it dry, sand it, and then we're gonna put a little bit of body filler over top of all the spots. There's a couple little scratches on this side. We'll hit them all, just like we did on the other side, sand it down, and we'll be able to stand the cabinet back up. I'm gonna sand the bottom of this cabinet. And then we'll stand it up, and we'll sand inside where the monitor goes and stuff. And then that's going to end this video, because the next video we're going to be putting primer on this thing, guys. We're going to be getting this thing primered. We're going to put good 3-4 coats of primer on it. And we're going to let it dry, and then we're going to see how it sands. If it sands to to where I want it to look, then we'll paint it. If I don't like it and I want it to be smoother, we'll put another coat of primer on it. I'm not going to half-ass it. I want it to be nice. We might have to touch up that groove there for the T-molding. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of fill it in and just cut it open, cut it back open. Since I have a little bit of this left, I'm just going to go ahead and use it up in some of these other little areas. Now this stuff is a lot harder to sand than regular Bondo, body filler, whatever you want to call it. So you want to use it a little bit more sparingly, and kind of where you have to sand, try to make the areas that you have to sand with a either a battery operated or electric or an air sander, so that you can take it down easier. There was a pretty good nick right here. I don't know what that was all about. I'll fill that in with what I have left. All right, I'll be back with this set up now. Okay, this should be the last of the filler that we need. Spy Hunter cabinet should be about the same. That's another really clean cabinet, and we already peeled the artwork off of that. So I think what we'll do is, once we get this cabinet in primer, we'll move over to that cabinet and get that into primer, and then come back to this one and get it ready for paint. Give it a couple days to dry between. Got to work on some motorcycle parts on my other channel this week, plus I got to get back onto this pickup truck again. So I'm going to kind of be all over the place, per usual. Nothing out of the ordinary. this little T-molding groove that I bondoed in, I think I'm just gonna use my cutoff wheel to cut it back open, because it's such a small amount for me to get my router out and set it all up and everything. It's kind of a waste of time. A little bit of just my cutoff wheel should be all I need to do to it. This back door is going to be a little bit of work fixing that for this cabinet. All right, let that dry and sand that down. All right, there's a couple nicks on the back. I'm gonna hit that with a little filler. All right, guys, that's it for tonight on the Journey cabinet. It is body worked. A little bit of hand sanding I need to do tomorrow. Tomorrow we're gonna get this in primer, and then maybe we'll paint the black parts. So that's my goal for tomorrow night. It's 10 o'clock at night, I'm done. I've been working since 7 o'clock this morning. So I'm probably gonna sand this tomorrow a little bit, and then I need to sand around here a little bit. And then we can get this in primer. And like I said, we'll paint some of those black parts. What else is there? And then we'll probably take a couple days off of this and we'll jump back onto the Spy Hunter cabinet so that we can get that body worked and in primer. And then I need to get these legs cleaned up. I don't know if I'm gonna sandblast these or what I'm gonna do with them. Not sure yet. I wanna reuse them. Maybe we'll just wire wheel them down and use some rust converter on them, because they are in pretty good shape. But that's about it, guys. So once again, if this is something you guys are interested in and you wouldn't mind subscribing, that would be awesome. Costs nothing to subscribe. Please hit the thumbs up. It helps hopefully get the video out to more people. If you know anybody that's interested in this stuff, please share my videos. That would definitely help. Any questions or comments, feel free to ask. Other than that, we're moving along fast with the Journey, guys. It's not gonna be too long before it's in blue paint. So thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you guys later.